In 33 AD, the Roman Empire utilized crucifixion to punish those it considered its greatest threats. This method was an agonizing public display reserved strictly for the worst enemies of the state. For this execution, soldiers nailed a wooden placard above the prisoner's head. Written in Hebrew, Latin, and Greek, the sign named the man Jesus of Nazareth and identified him as the King of the Jews. Today, 2 billion people follow this executed man. Every December 25th, the world pauses to celebrate his birth, marking a reach that stands in stark contrast to his death as a state criminal. His life began far from any center of power. Between 4 and 7 BC, he was born in a Bethlehem stable to a young woman named Mary, following a prophecy delivered by the angel Gabriel. A peaceful carpenter with no army or wealth became a threat significant enough for the world's greatest superpower to demand a public execution. How he became such a danger to Rome remains one of history's most striking contradictions. Jesus' movement gained traction as his philosophy merged with actions the public perceived as divine miracles. These feats suggested a power that operated outside the natural order. The Gospel of John details the first of these events at a wedding. When the wine ran out, Jesus reportedly turned roughly 150 gallons of water into high-quality wine at his mother's request. These claims grew in scale. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus encountered a funeral procession for a widow's only son. He approached the coffin and ordered the young man to rise, reportedly bringing him back to life in front of a shocked crowd. The most famous gathering highlights the logistical scale of his following. In a desolate area, Jesus reportedly fed 5,000 people using only 5 pieces of bread and 2 fish, a claim that defied all physical probability. These events, whether viewed as literal magic or historical metaphor, generated massive, loyal crowds. This following rapidly disrupted the region's delicate balance of power. The tension peaked when Jesus brought his massive following into Jerusalem, the heart of the region's religious and political life. In Jerusalem, he openly challenged the rabbis and religious leaders. He accused them of being hypocrites who used rigid rituals to turn the public into psychological slaves, people controlled by mental and emotional manipulation rather than spiritual growth. Roman authorities watched this friction with growing paranoia. They saw a populist messiah who could easily ignite a violent rebellion against their rule. Religious elites and Roman officials pressured Governor Pontius Pilate to put Jesus on trial. Despite a lack of evidence for any crime against the state, Pilate bowed to the pressure and sentenced him to death. The crucifixion was a calculated political assassination by an empire terrified of losing control over its subjects. After his death, Joseph and Nicodemus placed his body in a cave. 3 days later, followers like Mary Magdalene arrived to find the tomb empty, sparking reports that he had risen from the dead. The narrative of the resurrection backfired on the Romans, evolving a crushed local rebellion into a global movement. Within centuries, the followers of that executed carpenter systematically blanketed the empire that had tried to silence him. Over the last 2,000 years, the institutions built in his name have often co-opted his legacy, accruing massive wealth and power that contrasts sharply with his own humble teachings. The Crusades, the suppression of scientific experiments, and modern frauds selling fake miracles for profit have all used his name to justify their actions. Stripping away centuries of exploitation reveals a rebel who fought for the poor. Honoring his legacy means practicing compassion and charity in our own lives, rather than relying on blind ritual.